Out of the gate, JT with you today from home in beautiful Summerlin, Nevada. A rare work day from home. Haven't done this in a while. And I'm fired up. I'm on YouTube and X. You can watch the show right now on YouTube at JT The Brick or on X. We have a live stream. JT The Brick on X. Used to be Twitter. Now it's X. You can find it there. A lot of different platforms. We're on the Raiders mobile app, LV Sports Network. Jump on in. It'll be a quick stream today for me. We got a 2-hour show lined up. And then next week it gets going as we have our first full preseason game coming up. That'll be next Thursday at Allegiant Stadium. And before that, the open practice is on Tuesday at Allegiant Stadium. So Allegiant Stadium's got to get ready for football too. They just had AC/DC. They have concerts there. They have private events. They got a lot of other things. But now it's ready to get to football, to see the field come in. Man, I don't know how Zach and his team does it. The field looks amazing out at World Headquarters. It'll look great this year, man. And it is baking out on that field tray as they get you ready for the start of the season. How about that Hall of Fame game last night? What a game that was. I was out last night on the Strip. Got buddies in town for a convention, so we've had a couple of good nights, but it was on in the background. And every time I looked up at the Hall of Fame game, there was a touchdown. And it really looked good. Carson Beck looks like he's ready to compete and possibly be the starter eventually for the Arizona Cardinals. Jacoby Brissett got his contract. He wanted to make sure he got a respectable contract. He did, but not enough money where they can't bench him. Carson Beck looked like a guy who played a long college career at a great program and was ready to play last night, and that was good. That was exciting. I'll talk about the Hall of Fame here in a little bit. On Friday, it's a Modelo Friday as we open up the show. I reward myself with a bucket of Modelos at the end of each week, and here we go. It's Friday, off practice today. We've had meetings today. It's been a busy, busy morning. Max got a little bit chippy. Kirk Cousins got a little bit chippy at the end of practice. Good to see. And I think the guys are getting to the point, and I really mean this because of the heat, even though they're getting off the field right when it starts to get hot. But it is hot. And I think these guys are ready to put their hands on some other players other than their own teammates. So you saw some trash talking today, some pushing and shoving, and that's always been a big part of camp. In every camp, you expect that to be. You'll hear from Klint Kubiak. He spoke earlier. I think we're going to play it at some point, maybe the top of next hour. Head coach Klint Kubiak, we'll hear what he has to say. Also, Big Mike spoke. I didn't hear it. I want to hear it, so we're going to play Michael Mayer coming up here in a little bit. Chris Maathuis, the Dean of the Newsmen, longest tenured newsman here in town. He'll join us at the bottom of the hour. We'll talk about Vegas, the Raiders, and what's happening in the Valley this weekend. If you join us early, when I got into this chat room on our YouTube page, I asked everybody which Raider player is in jeopardy of losing their starting position. Because we're getting to that point about next week. After the Arizona game, with only 2 games left in the preseason, there's a total of 3. They really don't play that third preseason game. That's when you're making final cuts, and it's more who's going to make special teams. But the first and second game is really important here to see the depth chart of this team. And I spent a lot of time yesterday and this morning on the depth of the Raiders and the depth chart that I have, just my opinion on what the depth chart's going to look like. And who do you believe is in jeopardy potentially of losing their starting position? And that's tough to say because no one's really been named a starter yet. No one's been named a starter yet. Klint Kubiak hasn't gone to the podium and said, he's my starting right tackle. That's my starting left guard. But we have a pretty good understanding of being at practice to see who lines up with the ones or the twos. And what we've noticed at this camp is that people are going to be playing all over the place. Multiple positions for the offensive line. Defensive tackles, one day playing with the ones, the next day's with the two. Tonka Hemingway, J.J. Pegues, Traden Stukes, some days with the ones, other days with the twos. Jackson Powers Johnson, some days with the ones, other days with the twos. So we're trying to get a feel for what you believe will be the starting lineup for this team on both sides of the ball. I think it's pretty set on defense other than the opposite corner to Eric Stokes. And there's 3 corners, I think, competing for that position, depending on who's going to get that. And then when it comes to safety, we've been seeing the movement of the safety position. I don't think Isaiah Palomal could be penciled in as a starter with this team? I don't think so. When you look at the depth chart, will he start, or will they use him so often because they're going to have different packages where everyone's going to feel good about coming in there and playing? Teron Johnson's been lining up at safety a lot. And they might see something with him athletically there that they believe he's good on the back end with Jeremy Chin. He could be there, or they can move him up. He can play nearer to the line of scrimmage, and he could be a really productive slot corner overall. But I want to get your opinion today at 702-365-9200 on who you believe is in jeopardy of maybe losing their status as a starter on this team. Because the way I looked at it today, there's 22 starters, 11 on both sides of the ball. I got about 18 or 19 with an asterisk as starters, and I think they're going to start against Miami. But I could be wrong. So I want to hear what you have to think here. A lot of people on the chat are saying DJ Glaze. DJ Glaze. Well, most people think DJ Glaze is going to be the starting right tackle. And if he's going to be replaced there, who's he going to be replaced by? And I've always told you this as long as I've been on the radio, that if you can find a better right tackle on a cut down from another team, which is going to happen in the next couple of weeks, you might bring him in. I think the tight end position is locked up, and we know what the Raiders have at wide receiver. At wide receiver for the Raiders, Jalen Naylor, Trey Tucker, and Jack Besh. But Malik Benson has been popping. So could Jack Besh lose snaps in training camp because Benson's getting snaps? And every time I look up, he seems to be making a play. And he's making plays on special teams. He has been the star or the surprise story of this camp overall. So I'm excited to hear from you on this. And I think the Raiders, a lot of people are coming up to me saying the Raiders are a year away. They're a year away. Don't give me this year away crap. We do a radio show every day. We're not doing that show next year. A year away is next year. Those shows will come. All right, this is today on Friday, and we got to put a team together. And no fan base is better than the Silver and Black at putting this team together. All the fans know the depth. All you fans know who's playing. All you fans know who needs to be coached up a little bit more. So I really value your opinion as we open up the show today. Wanted to play this brief bit of sound from Dan Graziano. It was good to see him on the sideline the other day. He sat down with Kirk Cousins. This went on SportsCenter, and Kirk Cousins talking about his start with the Las Vegas Raiders.
Here with Raiders quarterback Kirk Cousins. Las Vegas, what's it been like, this experience, relative to your expectations when you came here?
Honestly, it's exceeded my expectations. I trying to get my mind right for living on Mars when I moved here. And it's been great. It's sunny every day. It's a great culture here. I like my teammates, like the coaches, like the system. So I'm excited. Now we just got to get the ball right and go win some games. Your
quarterback room obviously includes the number one overall pick. You know that coming in when you sign here. What's that situation like, and how much, what's your relationship like, and how much has he taken from you?
Yeah, good quarterback room. We've enjoyed just working together as a group. We have good dialogue every day, and I think the organization is positioned well, having drafted Fernando, and I'm going to try to hold him off as long as I can, and we'll see how it goes up ahead.
Interesting position. You hold him off as long as you can, but you're also here to try and help him on some level, right? How does that exactly work?
You can do both. I think you can do both. We're all helping each other, and you kind of compete with each other, I would say, more than against. So should be a good year. We're having fun right now in camp, and just trying to get the ropes and build a foundation that we can build from as the season goes on.
And Klint, obviously, from previous experience with him in Minnesota. How's this offense compare to what you've run with him before?
Dan, I just really feel like my history with Klint was the biggest reason why, coming here made sense. Prayed about it, just felt a peace about it. And I think large part of that was just a comfort level with Klint and with the system. And so, we'll see how that goes this year. But I think he's doing a great job as a first-time head coach, kind of instilling his culture, his system. I think guys are rallying behind it, and time will tell. We got to go win. We got to go turn into wins and a great season.
Young wide receiver group. Anybody standing out to you early in camp?
Yeah, I really like our 6th-round pick, Malik Benson. I think Trey Tucker runs really, really well. Jalen Naylor played with me in Minnesota. He was a Michigan State guy, so I followed him for a long time. I think he's kind of a complete player where he can really do everything. Certainly Brock and Michael at tight end give us a lot of depth. I think we got a lot of depth at tight end position, period. I think our backs catch the ball well, so we'll really use them and just be very multiple, which I think, some of my best years or favorite years in the NFL were when we were very multiple as an offense, when we spread it around, and I think we had the potential to be that this year.
All right, Kirk Cousins, good luck. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, that's an interesting interview here. That's Dan Graziano, courtesy of ESPN. I sensed a little frustration on the Fernando Mendoza question. Could just be me. I think Kirk Cousins now, as he's established as the number one quarterback for the Raiders, is only going to be answering these Fernando Mendoza questions for so much longer. I mean, everybody who comes out here to camp on a national level understands that Mendoza's not starting. It's the people who aren't in camp and aren't at practice every day covering the team locally, like our great local reporters, that don't understand why Mendoza is clearly the number two. So Dan Graziano is a pretty sharp guy. He knows Kirk Cousins. He asked him about Fernando. And all Kirk can say is he's a great kid. He's learning. I'm here to help, but he's the starter. And what I'm noticing with Kirk Cousins today, with Max Crosby getting chippy at the end of practice, when you're seeing Kirk Cousins, he knows he's the starter here. And I don't know if everybody else understands this outside of Las Vegas. I think people think there's some competition. The coaches say there's a competition, but we all know in Raider Nation that this is Kirk Cousins' job as long as he stays healthy. Now, in the interview, he talked about the multiple looks that they have, and he's right about that. I'm going to go over Kirk Cousins' stats next hour, and they're pretty remarkable. He's had 6 seasons of over 4,000 yards. He almost had a 5,000-yard season. And I was looking at Kirk Cousins' stats because I went and looked at Drew Brees' stats. And Drew Brees threw for 80,000 yards. 80. Number one. More than the GOAT Tom Brady. Kirk Cousins, if he didn't have to sit on the bench for a number of years in Washington, if he didn't have to sit as a backup a little bit in Atlanta, if he was a full-time starter the entire time, you're talking about a guy who should be at about 60,000 yards as he's approaching 50. So this guy's played in a lot of different systems, and the one that I think he's the most comfortable with is this system that Klint Kubiak has, which was born down the road in Minnesota, probably in his kitchen with his dad, Gary Kubiak, who was at practice yesterday. And I truly believe that Cousins is a master at this particular playbook. We only see so much at practice. We're only allowed to see so much at practice. There's things we don't see when they're installing everybody. But we're going to have to see it here pretty soon because the first game's coming up on Thursday, and I have no idea who's playing. So we'll have a production meeting, all the broadcasters with the coach, and I'm sure a player, coming up sometime next week, and we'll get an understanding before we call the game on who's going to play in the preseason. As I said yesterday, I think you got to play Cousins a lot in the preseason because there's a chance he won't play much in Las Vegas because once Fernando takes over, Kirk Cousins is going to be a backup quarterback in Las Vegas. So why wouldn't you play him as much as you could in the preseason? Why not let him get the rust off in preseason games? Again, did you see Carson Beck last night? That guy looked like he was in midseason form. I'm not saying the Raiders have to come out here and put 35 up at home on Thursday nights, but it would be nice. And it would be nice if Cousins got in a rhythm. And then we go down to Houston, where they're going to practice the ones against the ones. And we're going to see Houston, arguably the best defense in football. Cousins will be under duress and pressure in that game. And we'll see what happens. And then you shut him down. Then you shut him down and you get ready for Miami. So I would hope that Thursday night, this upcoming Thursday when we're at Allegiant Stadium, Cousins comes out with the ones and plays a while. He's older. You don't have to worry about him anymore. God forbid if he gets hurt. Okay, it happened, but don't worry about him. This is not a quarterback like Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams in their youth that you have to protect, or a Drake May. Cousins has been around the block. He knows how to protect himself and his body. I hope to see him play a lot because I think he's going to have to find rhythm with these receivers. I mean, other than Benson's played great. He's got to get Jack Besh going. He's got to get Big Mike Mayer going. That's all about reps and chemistry overall. So as I look at the depth chart today, and I have several up here on my laptop, I'm looking at what I believe will be a really good season because this team does not have to go out and look for many more players. Whatever they need is in the building. If they need something, they're in the building on the roster. The backup offensive linemen can go up and play with the ones if they have to. Okay, the backup linebackers can jump in for one of the starting linebackers, and I don't think there's going to be a massive drop-off. Defensive tackle concerns me a little bit on this depth chart because Aaron Donald is back playing for the Rams. He was working out in pads, and we don't have an Aaron Donald in our building. We have Max Crosby, but we don't have an Aaron Donald. So when I look at Thomas Booker, Adam Butler, Jonah Laulu, Tonka Hemingway, J.J. Pegues, these guys who are playing on the inside, someone's going to have to pop, and it looks like it's Tonka Hemingway. So I don't know how long he's going to stay on the field. I don't know if they're going to rotate him in and out. I don't know if he can play 3 downs. I don't know. But he sure seems to have confidence, man. That kid is popping over in Deep Henderson every day at practice. So I want to dive into that. And then the last topic I want to fit here in the monologue, and it's something you want to call in on. Today would be a good day to do it in this first hour. I woke up today, and on my Facebook memories, I go to see if any of my nieces or nephews have their birthday. I go to my birthdays. I wish everybody a happy birthday. I look at a couple of people that I've seen, they seem to be in my algorithm. Then I go to my memories. And man, my memories have been flooded this week with Canton, Ohio, and all the trips I've made. My stories with Jim Brown, Tom Flores, emceeing Tom Flores' party as he was in a wheelchair. They made Tom Flores go back to Canton in a wheelchair instead of letting him in 20 years before that. Ken Stabler, 10 years ago yesterday, the Snake, his 10-year anniversary as a Hall of Famer. Wow, time flies. Wish he was here. Cliff Branch, 4 years ago. Unbelievable that Cliff Branch is no longer with us. I remember the Raiders decorated the whole hotel, had Cliff Branch. We had pillows. You went into our bedrooms, we had pillows, Cliff Branch blankets and pillows. It was a memorable night. And then last year, Eric Allen with his gold jacket and his San Diego Padre hat as he lives in the 619 in Point Loma. And EA's kids, his family, his wife. It was just a blessing. It was so good. But it got me thinking today of Jim Plunkett. And I don't want to get too emotional here, but the Jim Plunkett push by Mark Davis has been incredible. It's been incredible what's been being said behind the scenes. Mark is very connected to the Hall of Fame. Mark bought all the deceased families, got them rings. For any player who never got a Hall of Fame ring, who passed away, like Junior Seau, for his family. That was Mark Davis who did that. That wasn't a donation from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That came out of Mark Davis's pocket. And I really think it's important, as Mark Davis is the owner of this team, that we get Jim Plunkett in for Mark and the Davis family and the Davis legacy. So there's billboards in Canton, Ohio. People understand Jim Plunkett and what it means. You cannot tell the story of the NFL without Jim Plunkett. You cannot have a complete history of the Hall of Fame in the NFL without Jim Plunkett. One of the most highly decorated athletes we've ever seen. High school, college, pro football. Now, the problem is for Jim, he doesn't have the stats to get into the Hall of Fame. He does not. Jim Plunkett does not have the stats at all. Don't debate that. You'd be wrong. He cannot get into the Hall of Fame on his stats. Jim Plunkett gets in because he's a winner. And the Hall of Fame is about famous people and winners. And Jim Plunkett's one of the greatest. Born to blind parents, the legendary Heisman Trophy winner, the Rookie of the Year, the Comeback Player of the Year, the Rose Bowl MVP, two-time Super Bowl champ, and Super Bowl MVP. How is that not good enough to be in the Hall of Fame with all the other Raiders who are his teammates who are already enshrined in Canton, Ohio? So how do we go about doing this? Paul Gutierrez is now a voter. Paul really cares about this. Paul is in the room, and he is fighting for Jim Plunkett. And I think around this week, every year, like I always did with Pete Rose when Pete Rose was alive, when it was that time in baseball, I always pushed heavy for Pete because people are watching and talking about the Hall of Fame. We know that there's some other Raiders who should be in the Hall of Fame. That would be Shane Leckler, Lester Hayes. But Jim Plunkett is the big one. And Lester Hayes is really important too. And I don't know why Lester is waiting this long also, but I think Lester's going to get in at some point. I don't want anybody to forget about Jim Plunkett. I don't want anyone to forget about the importance of Jim Plunkett. He also is the first Latino quarterback to win a Super Bowl and a Super Bowl MVP. That matters. That matters in society. We talk about the first African-American, Jackie Robinson, to break the color barrier. That's important. That's part of the legacy of Jackie Robinson. Part of the legacy of Jim Plunkett is he's an Hispanic quarterback who's a Super Bowl MVP. That's part of the story that needs to be enshrined in Canton, Ohio. So I started thinking about this today. I made a couple of phone calls. I set up a couple of Zooms that I'm going to be doing on this topic on my own, not here on the radio station. And I'm going to revisit this Jim Plunkett story to the best of my ability and what I think I can do to help. And one of the big things that I can do to help is to ask for your help. To always call in on Jim Plunkett, always bring him up on social media, directly at Pro Football Hall of Fame. You can directly tweet with respect at the Hall of Fame and keep Jim Plunkett's memory alive, because Jim's not getting any younger. And I don't want the Hall of Fame to do to Jim what they did to Coach Flores and make him come in his 80s in a wheelchair. Jim Plunkett is a tremendous human being. He deserves to be with his wife, his kids, and his grandkids at the Hall of Fame with the gold jacket. It is an injustice to the Raider organization, to Jim Plunkett and his family, that he is not inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's an injustice. And this is Hall of Fame week. So I don't want to take anything away from Luke Kuechly or Adam Vinatieri, Larry Fitzgerald, right? Roger Craig was a Raider, right? Mostly a 49er, but a Raider. But today I woke up and said, I'm going to do something good today. I'm going to mention Jim Plunkett on my radio show. And if I can affect one person, 10 people, 100 people, whatever I can do, I'm going to do that. Because I'm aggravated, I'm semi-pissed off about it, and it's another year gone. And if you've been as fortunate as I have to go to the Hall of Fame as many times as I have, and you see these people get older. The last time I ever saw Jim Brown, right before he died, I had a moment of peace with him to tell him I loved him and to thank him for I didn't see him again. He passed away after that. And I think of these older players, and some of them are suffering from dementia. Some of them are in wheelchairs. Some of them have back problems, knee replacements. Jim Plunkett is with us. He's always around the Raiders. He does everything he's asked to do in the community. And all I ask you is to think of Jim Plunkett today and tomorrow during the Hall of Fame. Do something in your world as a Raider fan. On social media, it could be Facebook, it could be Twitter, it could be Instagram. Do what I'm going to do today and stop someone or text someone and talk to them about Jim Plunkett and say, man, it's Hall of Fame weekend. How come the great Jim Plunkett isn't in? And then other people will debate and say he doesn't deserve to be in. He doesn't have the stats. I get it. I've had those debates. But I'm able to take that debate to a higher level than most people because I talk about his other accomplishments that are worthy for induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Okay, not everyone's going to have 80,000 yards like Drew Brees. Not everybody's going to have a Super Bowl. Not everyone's going to have an MVP. But Jim Plunkett, Rookie of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, 2-time Super Bowl champ, and Super Bowl MVP. How in God's name isn't that good enough to walk into Canton, Ohio and see his bust in the big room? That's the monologue as we open up the show. 702-365-9200. If you want to get in, we will have our good friend, Chris Maathuis, Dean of the Newsman. He's going to join us here in a little bit. We'll go around Vegas and see what's happening. There's a lot going on in Vegas, but it's slow for sports right now. I think next week we're going to pick it up a little bit more. We'll be in Allegiant Stadium Tuesday night for the open practice. Hopefully you will be there. And then Thursday we'll be there for the game. Oh, quick reminder, if you're not going to the game and you have tickets, please make the donation to Raider Dad. He reached out to me again. I got back to him and I said I mentioned it on the show. If you're not going to the preseason game, please don't eat those tickets. Use them, forward them to me, or forward them to Raider Dad, and I'll make sure some kids get them. But Raider Dad's good with that. He'll help out along the way. All right, when we come back, Chris Maathuis from 8 News Now. We'll find out what he's doing today, what's happening this weekend. He's been out at UNLV football. I think UNLV football is getting a little disrespect in the polls. I'll touch on that with Chris. And everybody else out there, thank you for listening this week. A heavy week of practice, a lot of content. All of our shows from the morning tailgate to this show in Q are doing our best to give you Raiders training camp updates on the flagship of the Silver and Black.
Offensive line telling me, hey, you need to be louder in the huddle. We need to hear a better cadence. And I'm learning a lot from those guys, whether it's the offensive line, running backs, tight ends, or receivers. Those veteran guys who are year two and beyond, them giving me feedback, and and then we're all coming together, and they're helping my command, but I'm really taking part of their command.
Fernando Mendoza, JT, back with you as we're brought to you by the DeCastro Verde Law Group, the Brothers Win, brotherswin.com. Every other Friday throughout the season, we get Chris Maathuis from 8 News Now, the dean of the newsmen, as we like to say. And Chris, I guess this town just can't get enough of Fernando Mendoza. You know how to get ratings. I can't wait to see what you do on game days covering this Fernando story.
Well, it's crazy. It's bigger than life. And when you think about it, with number one overall pick prior to Mendoza in all these years, you got a number one pick, and everybody wants to see the number one pick. Heisman winner, national champion, good kid, good family. Just the storylines just don't end with this guy. So naturally, if I'm a fan, if I'm out there in Raider Nation, Fernando Mendoza is the guy that I want to see. He's the guy that everybody's talking about, which is fun. It's great to have a guy like that everybody can rally around. You and I both know this, JT. You'll be there at that torch, and there will be 1,000 jerseys with Fernando Mendoza. I mean, it's just going to be a fun season with that guy around.
Yeah, Chris. And you know what's interesting? I think everybody locally, like you and myself and everyone who covers the team, now realizes that he's not going to be the starter. But I don't know if the rest of the national media does. I turn on all these debate shows and talk shows, and they're still talking about Fernando like he has an opportunity to start. I don't see that happening. I don't see him playing until he's ready to play. And I think Kirk Cousins is at a point now where he shouldn't have to answer a lot of Mendoza questions. It should be about Kirk Cousins winning football games for the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, it'll be about Cousins, but even though the Fernando Mendoza thing, it's going to be there all season long with Fernando, the Heisman winner. Just that hype will be there. But you're right, Kirk Cousins, the guy. Kirk Cousins is the experienced guy, the guy coming into camp with all the experience, all the money, all the touchdowns, all the yards passing. It's a different feel. It's not like it's Geno Smith rolling in here. This is a guy who has had a lot of success in the past. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do with these receivers now. I like Jalen Nader. That's going to be fun to watch. Hey, a Bishop Gorman kid, a Las Vegas guy who could be the number one, or perhaps Trey Tucker. But so that's going to be fun to watch. But here's what I think, JT. I think that by the end of the season, we will be talking about this all season long, just that connection between Kirk Cousins and Brock Bowers. I think that's going to be gigantic. You watch at the end of the year, we'll get back together and we'll say, man, all year long, that was the number one connection between those two. And I think he'll have a super year. And when you couple that in with the opportunity for Ashton Genty to not get hit behind the line of scrimmage this season, to perhaps maybe get hit 3-4 yards past the line of scrimmage, he'll have another big season. At the end of the year, you got to figure Genty with over 1,200 yards and Brock Bowers easily over 1,000 yards, I would think. That's just a prediction going in, but that's kind of the way I see it.
Chris Maathuis is our guest. Chris, I want to move over to UNLV. I know you've been out at some of their practices and workouts. They're not ranked. They got some votes outside the top 25, and there's a lot of other good schools not ranked in the top 25. Do you feel like the program's getting respect? I think they're much better than their ranking. I thought they were a top 25 team and what they were building on with last year. What has the vibe been around Dan Mullen and the young players as you've been out at practice?
Yeah, we were out there again today talking to the running backs, and there's just such a big optimism with this team, of course, coming off 3 straight Mountain West title games. Unfortunately, they lost all 3 of those, but just to get to that title game, JT, this team has 22 transfers from Power 4 conferences. Of course, the biggest, the quarterback, Jackson Arnold, played at Oklahoma. He was a top 10 quarterback coming out of high school. 5-star guy. Picture that. 5-star guy, top 10 quarterback in the nation coming out of high school. Went to Oklahoma, transferred to Auburn, and now because of Dan Mullen and his development over at UNLV, he's a rebel. He's excited to get going. This team has 22 of those Power 4 guys. You look around, there was never a chance 5 years ago that you would have seen a 3-star, maybe a couple of 3-stars, but 4 and some 5-star guys at UNLV. They had the number 1 recruiting class in the Mountain West, easily now with Boise gone. They have a top 60 recruiting class in the country. That's ahead of Boise. So it's going to be interesting. They're going to be kind of like the UNLV team back in the day with basketball when they were dominating the Big West and running Rebel hoops. Well, UNLV should be dominating this new Mountain West. But don't overlook North Dakota State. The Bison come in here. We were talking to those guys at Media Day. They are confident. Their fans travel. They're coming from FCS, but they are so confident. They've won 10 titles at that level. And these guys say, we're not coming here just to play. We're coming here to win. So, I mean, they took over Boise's spot, JT, in terms of the cockiness, the confidence. But it's going to be fun. So you got the Bison rolling in here. But the season opener against Memphis is really, really big because you got a good team from the AAC against UNLV in the opener on national television. The winner of that one kind of takes himself out of the playoff picture. But UNLV and that playoff hope is right there, no doubt about it. In fact, you can take the bottom half of the Big Ten, bottom half of the SEC, or even the Big 12, and UNLV's path to the playoff is much easier than those schools, easily by far. You have to be the top team ranked in the group of 6, which UNLV certainly should be right there.
Chris, you made an outstanding point because a lot of this schedule for UNLV, I think, is pretty easy. I mean, they got some cupcakes there along the way, but the game that Memphis game is critical. Because a loss there, it takes all the wind out of the sail for any chance of a playoff spot. And then if you want to pack Allegiant Stadium and get 40,000 fans there, you can't drop your first game. I think there's going to be enormous pressure, and UNLV hopefully wins that game at home. But they got to come out ready to play because, as you said, that's a critical game for their big picture because they should be able to stack a lot of wins after they win that game if they do.
Yeah, you got Memphis to open up the thing, and then you got to go to Hawaii, which isn't going to be tough, or which is going to be tough because they're probably a top 3-4 team in the Mountain West. And when you go to the islands and play, you look at the history. There's been some real good teams that have gone to Hawaii and have lost. They got their quarterback back. They have 17 guys, JT, on that Hawaiian Rainbow Warrior roster that played at Bishop Gorman, their quarterback, the running back. They got so many guys, Gorman Gales. I guess if you're going to stack a team with high school kids and develop them, Bishop Gorman's a pretty good team to do. But the other big game they got to really pay attention to outside of the Memphis game is that home game with Cal. That is their only Power 4 school on the schedule. So the Memphis game at Hawaii, then Cal at home. Those are just, I mean, obviously you got to win them all, I think. Maybe you could lose the Mountain West title game if you ran the table and it's a close Mountain West loss. But I almost think you have to go unbeaten to get to that playoff. But certainly the path is right there.
Hey, Chris, finally, when Ted goes out and does the weather up top on the weather deck, do you ever go out there with them when it's really hot? Do they have snacks out there? Do they have refreshments? Because when he's out on the weather deck at 112, 110 before he comes back in the studio, I get worried about him a little bit. It's hot up there.
No, I always say, Ted, why are you going out there on the weather deck? We know it's hot. We know it's sunny. It's not going to change. Get inside where it's cool. You're not telling anybody anything new by you standing out in the heat. Why would we want to do that?
You could do that. You could give a weather update from UNLV. Chris, I'm looking forward to seeing you out at Raiders practice. Tuesday night is the open practice at Allegiant Stadium. I know that 8 News Now will be covering that, and then we got the game on Thursday night, so a big week upcoming.
All right. Thank you very much, JT. Look forward to it. Always appreciate it.
Got you. There he is, Chris Maathuis, 8 News Now. Good guy, one of the best people in town. One of the best people you'll ever meet is Chris Maathuis, a very generous guy and one of our insiders, right? We put local reporters on, and we have them on all the time. Alex Eshelman will be back with us this year. Some of the other reporters we have, Kevin Bollinger from Fox 5. Excited for Kevin. He has twin girls, and he'll be taking them off to college. And I remember his girls when they were little girls, and now they're going off to college. Pretty amazing there. So hope everybody's going to have a good weekend here. It should cool off just a tad. These practices out there, some days it's been a little bit more humid than others. Today, a little bit of cloud coverage. But those guys have been working hard in that weather. And you can see they're doing media. They've been signing autographs with fans. And then I see, because when I walk through the weight room, when I leave, I go through the weight room, through the building, and you should see what they have set up for them, these tropical type smoothie drinks and hydration and Gatorade and the amount of water and how they're trying to keep these guys hydrating, including the coaches who are running around in that heat also for 2 hours. So this has been tough. It's been a tough camp. And I don't think the physical padded practices have been that difficult overall with 3 of them, but it's going to get tough after the Arizona game that week in Houston, because it'll be sticky hot and muggy down there, and hopefully the Raiders are used to the heat because they're in the hottest spot to play football out in Henderson, Nevada. 702-365-9200. When we come back, we're going to play a little bit of Big Mike, Michael Mayer. I've been finding myself defending him every year about the inability to get him the ball. It might be one of my biggest topics, the inability not to get Michael Mayer the ball. And I finally think there's a coach now in Klint Kubiak who's going to get him the ball because he realizes how important Mayer is with Brock Bowers. And to get Mayer going will take the heat off of Brock, and maybe Brock could get open a little bit more if Mayer is eating and getting 6. I'm only talking about 6-7 balls a game, everybody. I'm not talking about 10 targets. I'm talking about getting Michael Mayer 5 to 6 targets a game and let him have that explosive year. That's what I hope. So we'll come back a little bit from his podium session from earlier today. A big second hour as we thank all of our partners. Wow, record-breaking partnerships here on this show. It's going to take me almost a segment to thank everybody who's with us for football season. Live from my home today in Summerlin, Raider Nation Radio.
Shotgun, Smith's gonna throw. Clean pocket, stands, scans, throws. Michael Mayer at the goal line, turns, touchdown Raiders! Gino looked all over the field, and he followed Michael Mayer, his first touchdown in 2 years. And the Raiders take a 9-0 lead with 5:13 to go in the second.
A Gino touchdown to Michael Mayer, hopefully a bunch more for Big Mike. We'll play a little of his podium session. Last night I was at the Cosmopolitan. We went to Zuma for dinner. I had 4 buddies in town who were here for a convention, so 5 of us. And 2 of them are tequila drinkers, and last night they ordered Fletcher Azul tequila and loved it. 1 in a margarita, 1 straight up on the rocks. Fabulous. They were raving about it. There's a lot of different choices for tequila. Fletcher Azul, proud partner of our show. What an incredible lifestyle brand that we add to this show. Next time you're out at a restaurant or you're at Lee's Liquor or you're anywhere in town where you go purchase alcohol, ask for Fletcher Azul. Fantastic. Again, my buddies were raving about it last night during and after a great dinner. Fletcher Azul Tequila, proud partner of our show. So Michael Mayer spoke to the press, and this is what he had to say earlier today after the practice.
Your coach just referred to you as a standard bearer, a leader that's emerging. What does that mean to you? You're a guy like Kubiak.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously means a lot. I think what I got to keep doing is keeping my head down and keep working. There's some good days, there's some bad days, and I think that's football. But at the end of the day, at this point, I'm going into year 4. I need to be a leader. I need to be a leader physically, mentally, verbally. We got a great set of rookies that are coming in here, and they've been working their tail off. And at the end of the day, I need to be there for them, just like there were people there for me when I was a rookie. And, lead them and show them and push them the right way.
In your role, how else can you lead? How else do you envision leadership?
Yeah, I think helping the team win in any way I can. I think being the best version of myself, communicating out there. We got a whole new offense this year. That's not new news, but there's a lot of communication. And the more I communicate with the tackle, the more I communicate with Brock when I'm in there with him, with Ian when I'm in there with him, and even the quarterback, Kirk, Fernando, Aiden. Communication in this offense is very big, and I think that's something I've maybe slacked on the past couple of years. So when everybody's on the right page, good things happen.
You're going into year 3 with Brock.
With Brock.
with Brock. Year 4, but you're going into year 3 with your relationship with Brock. We've seen how you're being used out there in this new offense. Just how do you feel that your relationship on the field has grown?
Yeah, I mean, it's grown tremendously. I just feel like we get closer and closer every single day together. I'm trying to get him out of his shell as much as I can. We both got engaged this summer, which is pretty cool. both our fiancés are really good friends, which is cool. So we hang out a lot. We'll play golf when it cools down a little bit. But, when you have a relationship like that off the field, it's pretty easy to have a great relationship on the field with somebody like that. So we want the best for each other. We both want to be successful. We both want each other to be successful. At the end of the day, we want to win. So it's not about who has what catches, who has what this and that. We want to win. We're out there communicating with each other every single day, just trying to get better.
Follow on that, when you guys are out there together, what kind of stress can that put on a defense?
Oh, I think it can a lot. Yeah, I mean, I think we've already seen it a little bit with our defense. Two big threats. I mean, we can both block really well. I think it's just going to be an interesting season in terms of that. I think we just got to keep working hard, keep our head down. Klint's got a plan. Whatever Klint's plan is for us, we're gonna trust it and follow it, and we're going to do it to the best of our ability.
You mentioned that in communication. Was there like an aha moment that said you need something to work on?
I mean, I think anytime a new offense comes in, that's one of the big major kind of coaching points. And I wouldn't even say that's a coaching point. I would just say that's a point just from me, coming from myself. There's just a lot of things that are happening and going on every single day, every play. You're getting tons of different looks from the defense, tons of different coverages. And, the more you communicate, the better things go.
We've talked to players that have been here as long as you've been here, and they've said that they're all going in the right direction. They're all swimming in the same direction. Do you get that same sense, and how does that feel?
100%. You know what? I think that the challenge is to stay swimming in the right direction the entire season. There's some good moments, there's some bad moments, but you got to stay going in the right direction. Even if you take a step back, you got to take 3 steps forward. That's this league, that's the NFL. I do feel that too.
Michael, you come up with
be the comfort level that you were at Notre Dame. It's been very obvious this training camp. Am I reading that right?
I believe so, yeah. I really love this offense. I really love Klint. I really love, Luke Steckel, the tight end coach, that's year 3 for him here. And, when I heard he was coming back, I was very delighted. I love that man to death, and he knows how to coach. He's one hell of a coach. And it's about being comfortable, being the type of player that I can be and going out there and showing people. But, Steck gets me right. Klint's done a fantastic job, and really it's about me putting the best version of myself out there and doing anything I can.
His use with tight ends, how much do you think this offense is going to help you excel this season?
I think so, yeah. I think it's on me, though. I need to be ready. I need to know the offense, like the back of my hand, and I need to keep my head down, and I need to work. I know there's going to be mistakes. I can't let mistakes ruin the day. I can't let them ruin the rep. I can't let them ruin the period. I got to move on. Mistakes are, they happen. So I'm very, very excited for this season. I just need to keep working hard, keep my head down, and, good things are going to happen. Really good things are going to happen.
Have you come up with any creative stories for the Shiner yet?
I haven't yet. No.
You're going to get asked.
I haven't, but I know. Yeah, I mean, somebody in public the other day said something about it, and I was like, you should have seen the other guy. But really, I didn't get any punch back at him. So they'll never know.
We saw Max and Kurt get into it a little bit at the end there. Obviously, you don't want to see the quarterback get in fights, but is it good at this point in camp to see 2 veterans of this team kind of getting after it?
Yeah, it's energy, man. It's energy. We don't want to be throwing punches, but I think on any padded day of camp, there's going to be some tuffles, and that's our starting quarterback right now, and you want him to defend your team, and you want him to have some edge to him, which he does. He's always had. I mean, since the first day I met him when he came in here. So it's all. I mean, I don't want him getting thrown out. I don't want him getting a flag, nothing like that. But you got to be able to defend yourself.
All right, that's a little bit of him. A big Michael Mayer. It sounds like he's in a really good place. And I think that's very important. I think it's important from his past that mentally he's in a great place and he's a leader. His coaches are calling him a leader in public so the media can ask him questions about that. And it's time for him to get going. I mean, he's a veteran now and he's got to have a breakout season. This system, by all accounts, should be great for him. 12 personnel, he can block. We know he can block. We've seen him block. Now let's get him out in the routes. And I'd like to see Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is a hybrid. You can line up Brock in the slot. You can line him up wide. For Michael Mayer in the end zone, in the red zone, you can line him up wide. He's a big body. He's got great hands, and we're forgetting about it because he's just not getting enough touches. He needs more targets. And hopefully in Klint Kubiak's system, the targets will be coming because the Raiders are going to pick up more first downs. If this system works as good as everybody's saying it could, the Raiders are going to stay on the field longer. They're going to have sustained drive because Brock and Michael Mayer are going to be able to move the chains. I hope I'm right on this because, man, people are always asking me, could he be traded? I don't know. I mean, if he could, yeah, he could be traded. Anybody could be traded. Max Crosby was traded and ended up coming back. But Michael Mayer on another team could be really dangerous if he was the number one tight end. He's not going to be the number one tight end. We have a freak in Brock Bowers, but there's still a lot of opportunity for Big Mike to play well. That hour flew by. We got one more hour here. Modelo, proud partner of the show for this hour of the show. We'll thank our partners next hour as we wrap it up. And I got a lot more to say. I want to dive into Kirk Cousins. Looked at his stats earlier today before the show. I want to compare him to Drew Brees, as Drew Brees is back at the Hall of Fame. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the show, I got pretty fired up about Jim Plunkett. And I think today, if everybody can do me a favor, other than signing up for our YouTube page, is to go put out something on social media about Jim Plunkett. Go on your Facebook, go on your Instagram, make a post. It's Hall of Fame weekend in Canton, Ohio, and it's another year Jim Plunkett is not there as a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And Jim's been there a lot lately. He was there for Cliffs, the Snake. He was there for Charles Woodson. He was there for Eric Allen. Can you imagine how many Raider alumni would come to the enshrinement of Jim Plunkett when he gets into the Hall of Fame? But we need your help. Make that push and let Canton, Ohio know today that Jim Plunkett should be in. One more hour to go, live from my home in Summerlin. 101 degrees. Hot today at practice. Hot tomorrow at practice. But that's what we do. And we got a radio show out there every morning, the Morning Tailgate. And Clay's one of the hosts of that show. And they'll continue to be out there to give you the camp coverage along with Q and Brandy and our entire team here on the flagship of the Silver and Black. Welcome back, everybody. Our final hour of the week here on the flagship of the Silver and Black, Raider Nation Radio, as we continue on today with our coverage of 2026 Raiders training camp. So another practice in the books today. Little scrap between Max Crosby and Kirk Cousins. Just quickly, as everybody's talking about that throughout Raider Nation, and Max is so good. You know, Max likes to touch people around the play. I don't care if it's a light elbow or it's just brushing up, the trash talking, whatever he's doing. Kirk Cousins, real emotion there. But love Max. He is a practice wrecker. And I said that when we were in Costa Mesa a couple of years ago. I've never seen a guy just destroy a training camp the way Max Crosby did 2 years ago. He just destroyed it. There was no chance. Gardner Minshew, the quarterbacks, no one had a chance because Max was just dominant, and Max is pretty dominant now. All the insiders who I follow, Sam Warren, you look at Levi Edwards, who we have on the show, Vinny, Vince has done a great job. He's had a practice every day doing the show, so he's looking at practice while he's on the air. Anybody you look at, Ryan McFadden, as they give you the camp notes at the end of the day, is telling you how great Brock Bowers has been in camp and how great Max Crosby has been. Zeke Masses has flashed. You're seeing young players, Jalen Naylor, if he's out today, what he's done. We also know that there's an emergence, Benson at receiver. So we're seeing some good things here. But next week is going to be really important as I look at the schedule for next week as we continue on with the Arizona game. So there is an off day on Sunday. The players are off on Sunday. Monday, 7:30 in the morning practice. Then Tuesday night at Allegiant Stadium. That's a 6 o'clock practice, so that's the open practice. $5 for you to go to that. Then there is a 7:30 in the morning practice. Then the Thursday game against Arizona. So we're going to have 3 Thursday games in a row with the schedule here. They just line up perfectly on Thursdays, and the players will be off the Friday following those games. Then the big week after the Arizona game is it's wheels up on Monday as the team takes off for Houston. I'll be flying with the team out there. We'll have practice. That's the big one on Tuesday of next week, 2 weeks from now, as they practice in Houston for that game on Thursday. They'll fly home Thursday night, have Friday off, and then the following week will be the lead up to the 49ers. Too bad there isn't a practice. As far as we can tell, there's not with the 49ers and the Raiders. So they're only going to have one joint practice, and that'll be with the Houston Texans a couple of Tuesdays from now, which I think is going to be by far the biggest practice of the year. That's going to be even more important than the game against the Houston Texans, because that practice is going to be incredible. Hey, we're going to play Klint Kubiak, because when the coach speaks, I play him on my show. I don't care if you heard him earlier in the day, if you hear him later in the day. I want to make sure if you're tuning in for lunch or later on in the day, if you're in the car and I tell you the coach is coming up, I want you to listen to the coach, and I'll be interviewing the coach coming up here pretty shortly here as we kick off the season. So we'll get to that momentarily and get rolling here. All other camp stories from today, we're just waiting to see and hoping that no one gets injured. No one gets injured at all. And how about in baseball, the Red Sox now are tied with the Yankees in the loss column. We did a lot of baseball this week because of what happened with the Dodgers and Tarek Skubal, and the fact that the Dodgers, have been playing awful. I mean, I can't believe how badly the Dodgers are playing. They are in a swoon. It's about as bad as the Dodgers can play, and they have the best team in all of baseball when healthy. And as I look at the standings now, Tampa Bay, 4.5 up on the Yankees and the Red Sox. The White Sox have a 3-game lead over the Twins. The Houston Astros, 1.5 games over the Rangers, who have won 2 in a row. In the National League, the Braves with a comfortable 8.5-game lead over the Phillies. The Brewers have a 5.5-game lead over the Cubs. Man, I see more Cub highlights. Cubs have won 4 in a row, but the Brewers have won 3 in a row. Cubs are really playing well, but they're not picking up much ground on the Brewers. And out west, the Dodgers with only an 8.5-game lead over the Diamondbacks. And the Padres, remember I said this on this Friday, the Padres are 9.5 out. They've won 7 of their last 10 games as the Dodgers have lost 6 in a row. So the Padres, if they were playing better this year, if they were, because they're awful on the road, the Padres should be like 3 or 4 games behind the Dodgers after the Dodgers have lost 6. And the Dodgers still with a comfortable lead there. The Ohtani situation is very interesting now. The deferred money, what's he getting paid? There's a really good investigative piece on eBay, Ohtani's former interpreter on the gambling situation and what Ohtani didn't know or what he might have known. I'll just tell you this, that story is not going away. The Ohtani gambling story, which doesn't seem to be on the front of anyone's mind, is a much bigger story than you think. As his interpreter took a fall, a lot of that money being washed and how it came through a local casino here in Vegas. If you know, you know. I just have a feeling that story is going to be around us for quite some time. All right, Clay says it's ready to go. Klint Kubiak spoke right after practice today. It was a spirited end of practice there over at the Intermountain Health Performance Center. Here's the head coach of the Silver and Black.
Is that just a matter of that position tightening right now?
It's been the plan all along, to get those guys competing and get guys mixed in there, see who our best 5 are. So it's part of the plan.
Some feistiness between Kirk and Max at the end of practice, just what you make of their passion going up against each other.
Yeah, that's training camp. Those 2 leaders of our team going at it. So that is part of camp. Obviously, you fight in the game, you throw a punch in the game, especially then you're out of the game. So we got to be smart, treat it like a game.
When it comes to are you open-minded? Or you got a first part kind of married to the idea of first service.
And I mean this honestly. I'm not really married to any position. I think we're a new staff here. We're trying to establish something, and there's got to be competition everywhere. And we'll just sit here and let the tape reveal itself. And we know that with Aiden O'Donnell too, we got three NFL-ready quarterbacks. So we need to keep getting all of them ready to play.
How has Fernando, you've seen now a week and a half or so, and obviously throughout OTAs, what has his progress been like?
Yeah, he's just continuing to get better. He's improving. Every day brings a new challenge. Crowd noise today. So there's new things that he's learning every day, And again, he's working hard. He's like every other rookie. They're introduced to a whole new level of football, and there's going to be days of failure and days of success. And as long as they can keep getting better, that's what we're looking for.
Like in OTAs, you said, you straight up said to the media, I want to see what Hezekiah does when the pads come on. You kind of challenged him. So now the pads have come on, and he's had a couple of plays. What have you seen from him now that it's on?
I see a young man that continues to compete. He's the same guy that he was in the spring. I see a competitive guy. I like where he's heading. He's putting a lot of pressure on that first group of corners.
Now that we're deeper in the training camp, what are you hoping to see these next few practices develop with your team?
Just our situational football to improve. We start using a lot more crowd noise, way more situations. Now that we start repeating installs and banking reps, we just want to see those guys, those neurons fire faster now that it's not a new play coming at them.
Malik Benson is a young man that not only flashes on offense, but man, his toughness shows in special teams as well. That's something you like. Would you talk about him, please?
Yeah, I think he's just a young man that's coming here ready to compete for a job. And when a guy can, make plays on offense and then be a four-core teams player, that says a lot to his teammates about what he's made out of. So, any one of these young guys, they know how important special teams is and how it's going to relate to them making the team and being a successful part of our operation.
We didn't see Jalen Naylor out there. Is everything okay with him?
Jalen's okay. We had a few guys nicked up, and we're trying to be cautious with him.
That's the same with Dante Thornton.
Yeah, same with Dante, yes.
When it gets into Allegiant Stadium practices next week, what are you hoping to take away from those with the team?
Yeah, it's just, coaching-wise, is guys being in the booth, getting our communication down with the coaches, just being in that stadium environment in front of the fans. Really excited about that, but we have a long way to go to get there. We want to keep getting better starting tomorrow at practice.
Maathuis told us that it's still early. You guys are still installing your offense when it comes to the wide receivers and how they're performing. But what have you seen from the secondary so far? And if you practice with pads, it's kind of made life difficult for a lot of them, except maybe Brack Bowers.
Yeah, I think Joe Woods and Matt are doing a great job with our DBs. We have a lot of guys making plays on the ball right now. It's a very competitive room.
Klint, talking Hemingway is somebody who had it last year, did not really kind of ran with it last. It feels like that carried that momentum into OTAs and then here in training camp. What have you seen from Tommy Hemingway? Or does he kind of find his way with this team?
Yeah. Well, I give a lot of credit to Tonka for what he's done in the offseason to prepare his body, all the time he spent with AJ. He's made a lot of improvements physically, and it's been, what he does in the weight room shows up on the field right now.
What's it been like working with Mike Sullivan, and is there anything that he brings different to coaching quarterbacks that getting you inspired about?
I worked for Coach Sullivan in Denver, and I learned so much from him. I sat in his quarterback room, and number one, just the man that he is. I mean, he's an Army Ranger. He's a guy that's been through a lot in his life and has a lot to offer these quarterbacks beyond just quarterback play. So, our quarterback has to be the leader of the team. And I think Mike Sullivan is a leader of men, and so I'm really grateful that he's here, and his lessons are rubbing off on all of our quarterbacks.
You can only coach the players that Spy and his team get you, but there's a lot of, even on the UDFA, deep talent here. Would you talk about the job Spy and that group did getting you this roster, please?
I think just making a decision to come here and being familiar with Spy and our scouting staff, that's no surprise. Those guys are very professional, and they're turning over every rock to try to make the bottom of our roster better at all times. And, it's a collaborative effort. We work together, and really blessed to work with him.
You said you wanted to see a lot from Jack Besh during this training camp. What happened to this?
A professional, a guy that's continuing to get better. Guys make big jumps from year one to year two. Tonka Hemingway is one of those guys. Jack Besh is a guy that I see in there early every day that's working hard. That's playing a lot of positions, that can handle it mentally, and I see a young player that's going to continue to grow.
How difficult is it? Go ahead.
You two have been battling for a while.
No,
she got it. No, she's good. She got it.
Trayton Stukes, he seems like he got a lot of meaningful reps in. What have you liked from him since carrying himself with that already?
Yeah. I like how hard he plays special teams. He's a guy that's going to challenge guys for spots in many places on defense and on teams, but I like that he's a team-first guy, and it shows up in the way that he plays teams.
How difficult is it to come in off a day off like yesterday and try to get the energy level up as high as you probably wanted to, and then a day like today with the pads on seemed like the energy level intensity was more?
Well, it's not hard when the players get it going. They play between the lines on Sunday. We got to give them an organized plan and let them go execute. So we're looking for leaders to emerge, to take over and get here early and get practice going at 7:30 in the morning. I've seen improvement there.
You talk about that team first mentality. My player is a guy that, when you look at him and look at the skill set of what he did in college, he's got a number one tight end capabilities. Obviously, the situation here with Brock Bowers, that's not going to be reality. How do you feel like he has handled that, his reality, but also come to work, trying to figure out a way to help your team?
I see a leader emerging on our offense. Put it that way. Simple as that.
In what way?
A standard bearer in all things. I know I want to keep it short because that's the easiest way for that one. He's doing great.
Max brought up recently that when the trade was reversed, you called him and said that you were going to take the entire coaching staff out for drinks. Did that actually happen, and why was that a moment of celebration?
Tell him he's in big trouble for revealing that. We did not go out that night. We really haven't gone out a bunch as a staff. We've been grinding. We probably need to do that more, have some more camaraderie. But it's the message is we were excited and celebrating that we had one of the best pass rushers in the game.
I know you don't want to pat guys on the back too heavy 2 weeks into camp, but would you talk about Mike Washington, who's just every day displays it?
Yeah, we have a lot of young guys that are pushing guys for spots, and Mike's a guy that came in and has grown a lot since OTAs. Extremely coachable young man. Football is important to him, and that was a big part of John's criteria for bringing guys in. The game's got to be important for them to get better because they have to be self-motivated. So I see a self-motivated young man that knows there's a lot of big football ahead of him and has a long way to go, but a man that's willing to put in the work.
Yeah. Thank you. Coach, a lot of players who've taken up the podium this week have really praised Kirk Cousins' knowledge and years of NFL experience. What can you say on how Cousins' experience has benefited the team so far?
Quarterback has to be the leader of the team, and I see him leading out there. That's what we brought him here for, to lead and play really good football. So I've been pleased with him, and he knows that he can get better.
So there he is. That's him again. Just a very short, focused podium session about the team and the development of the team, as it seems like Klint Kubiak is instructing his coaches to play players at multiple positions, make sure they're versatile, make sure they're available, give them days off when they need days off, and get them out there early in the morning. Get them out there early and hope that if they get out there early, they'll be refreshed and get ready to go. So love what the coach has been doing. His podium sessions have been solid. We're getting a lot of good information out of that. We mentioned Michael Mayer in the first hour of the show. I thought his podium session was fantastic, as I've been pushing hard for Michael Mayer to get more playing time and more touches overall. So that's it from the head coach, and all these interviews are up at Raiders.com. On top of that, Q makes sure that all of our interviews and all the interviews everybody's doing from the morning tailgate through all these shows are up at lvsportsnetwork.com. Financial news today. Every time a player signs a contract in the NFL, they're the highest paid player ever at that position. Well, Jahmyr Gibbs got a 3-year, $67.5 million extension. Wow, for Detroit. I mean, there's running backs. Emmitt Smith never made $67 million his entire career. And Jahmyr Gibbs is going to make that on a 3-year contract extension. He is now the highest paid running back in the NFL. Do you think Jahmyr Gibbs is better than Christian McCaffrey? Well, he might be. He's getting paid that way. And if Ashton Genty stays on his path and has a big year, Ashton Genty's probably pretty happy today that Jahmyr Gibbs is getting all that money. It could be worth up to $75 million and includes $51.5 million guaranteed. Wow. Athletes First announced that earlier today on Instagram. Adam Schefter broke the story here. So the price of NFL running backs after a little bit of a dip over a couple of years now have just popped up, and now all these guys are getting paid so much money. So let me, before we come back, I just want to get into the Hall of Fame. I got a beautiful text from Eric Allen. Last night I texted Eric and his wife to congratulate them on being back in Canton, Ohio. And EA, I'm looking at it right now, says, thanks, JT. We're just here soaking it in. How great is that Eric Allen is going to sit there on stage during the ceremony tomorrow as a Hall of Famer representing the Eagles and the Raiders. And that's great. And one thing about the Hall of Fame over the decades, Mike Haynes sits on that couch and he stays through all of the speeches. And my wife picked that up a couple of years ago because some guys get up, they go get a refreshment, they leave the stage, they go underneath. At the Hall of Fame, all the Hall of Famers who are on the stage, in between speeches, there's like a couple-minute break, and they'll go get a beverage, a beer, a drink, and then come back up. And Mike Haynes never leaves. He stays through all of it. The gentleman Raider, Mike Haynes, and we have a new Raider, another great gentleman in Eric Allen. So as we take a look at this Hall of Fame class, and this is a really good Hall of Fame class, Adam Vinatieri is in. I can't believe it took him this long. He is one hell of a kicker, probably the biggest clutch kicks in the history of football. Raider Nation, I know you don't want to hear that. Obviously, he had a couple of big ones in the snow in the Tuck Rule game, but Drew Brees gets in. Roger Craig, who played for the Raiders, and I'm sure Mark Davis is going to have his name up there in the concourse with all the other Hall of Famers because he played with the team. Larry Fitzgerald, one of the greatest wide receivers of his era. Luke Kuechly, what a shortened career, but a great player, and I mentioned Adam Vinatieri. I think the key to all this is that Bill Belichick isn't in. For Drew Brees, I went back and I looked at Drew Brees' numbers. I had a dinner last night on the Strip at the Cosmo, and one of my buddies is from San Diego, and we were talking about what it would have been like if Drew Brees stayed in San Diego. Well, I don't know. I don't think he would have been a Hall of Famer. I don't think he would have had the career that he had with Sean Payton and the great run that he had in New Orleans. You never know. But we were talking about Drew Brees and all the games that I was fortunate enough to see him play, live, Super Bowls, San Diego, in New Orleans, and you just won't believe his stats and how quickly his stats came when he played in New Orleans. There's a lot of players that bounce around, and there are some players that play with one team. What Drew Brees was able to do in New Orleans was remarkable. The guy was let go. He could have been a Miami Dolphin, could have been a Charger for life. He ends up going to New Orleans and gets in the perfect system and then puts up one of the greatest runs. I don't think anybody will ever do this. I mean, Peyton Manning didn't have this when it comes to yards and what he was able to do. Just absolutely incredible that Drew Brees had the run that he had and played at such a high level, got a Super Bowl, so he's got a championship, which matters. He doesn't have to have 3 or 4. He's got one. But listen to this, everybody. I've just brought this up here again. Drew Brees' career stats are absolutely incredible. So born January 15th, 1979, Drew Brees out of Dallas, Texas, Westlake, a quarterback hotbed. Purdue from 97 to 2000, played with the Chargers from 2001 to 05, then played with the Saints from 2006 to 2020. He's a 2-time NFL Offensive Player of the Year. Remember, this is a Tom Brady era. Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP, NFL Comeback Player of the Year, 13-time Pro Bowler, 7-time passing leader, New Orleans Saints Hall of Fame. So if you look at his stats, I just can't believe it. 80,000 yards, 80,358 yards for Drew Brees. Incredible. I mean, are you not? 571 touchdowns, a completion percentage lifetime of 67.7%. 80,000 yards. Coming up, I'm going to talk about Kirk Cousins and some of his passing stats, which are pretty impressive. I couldn't believe how many years Kirk Cousins threw for 4,000 yards or more. I think you're going to be pretty surprised by that too. But congratulations to Drew Brees. We always say you can't tell the story of the NFL without Jim Plunkett. Jim Plunkett doesn't have Drew Brees' stats. But Jim Plunkett should be enshrined in Canton, Ohio in the Pro Football Hall of Fame because of his 2 Super Bowl wins and his Super Bowl MVP. His Rookie of the Year, plus his Comeback Player of the Year award. Jim Plunkett has one of the most impressive trophy rooms in the history of sports, from the Rose Bowl MVP to the Heisman Trophy to all of his individual accomplishments. The Hispanic Hall of Fame, the Bay Area Hall of Fame, the Rose Bowl Hall of Fame. And we're still waiting here as another Canton, Ohio weekend goes by, and Jim Plunkett isn't in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. No, he doesn't have the stats to be in the Hall of Fame. He has nowhere near any stats to be considered a Hall of Famer. I've never argued that case. I've argued the case that Jim Plunkett should be in because he's the first Latino quarterback to win a Super Bowl and a Super Bowl MVP. It took Tom Flores a long time to get in. I'm happy for Coach. I try to text him from time to time. His wife Barbara's fantastic, and if Coach was able to, he'd be in Canton there with his gold jacket on, but he's obviously not able to attend. So the Hall of Fame weekend is going to look pretty good. I would recommend everybody hit the DVR, put it up there. Those speeches are usually memorable. See if you can catch a glimpse of the Raiders who will be there, from Marcus Allen to Rod Woodson to the great Eric Allen, the newest member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And hopefully it'll be fun. There's 5 guys going in, so those speeches, they tried to cut down on them. I've seen some long ones. I've seen some painfully long speeches at the Hall of Fame. They finally wrestled that and brought it in. We'll also thank our proud partners here at the end of the show. I do that every Friday, as we got a lot of them. And it takes a segment to do it because football season is kicked off, and we have started here on Raider Nation Radio. As always, Clay Baker, great job this week for all the sound that we have, all of our guests. Takes a lot of work for Clay to help us out here. He's always on. His microphone's open whenever he wants to talk. He's got a long day from the morning tailgate, which is on at 7, and he's here long before 7 through the show. So we're very fortunate to have Clay on our team here. I'm very fortunate to have Q coming up here at the top of the hour. So that's what we'll do when we come back. A little bit of Kirk Cousins and what I expect to see from him in the preseason. Do I want him to play or not? Do I want him to sit and watch because he's a veteran? Or do I think he should get in the games and play and get used to the chemistry with his new teammates? I'll tell you that on the other side as we continue, thanks to the DeCastroverde Law Group. Brothers Win, brotherswin.com.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by M Resort Spa and Casino, the official hotel of the Las Vegas Raiders.
JT, welcome back as we continue on the flagship of the Silver and Black, Raider Nation Radio, brought to you by Boyd Gaming. 10 local casinos here in the Valley. Always bet on black. Proud partner of our show. We thank all the Boyd Gaming properties for being back with us for football season. So one of the things I wanted to accomplish today when I left the facility and coming back to the building was the depth chart. And one of the many things we're going to talk about leading up to the practice next week inside Allegiant Stadium, which should be good. I mean, that's going to be an important practice to see who's out there before the game against Arizona, and then we're going to sit down and have a meeting with the staff. We're going to sit down with Klint, Kubiak, and probably a player or two, maybe a quarterback like Kirk Cousins, and discuss what we do before the preseason game. How is this going to line up? How is this going to look as we get going for the first preseason game? So over the years, as I discussed here, I normally don't think preseason depth charts and or preseason snaps are that big of a deal. If you want to shut someone down completely, shut them down the whole preseason in the games, not practice, of course. You saw it today. Everyone's busting their back in practice. Everybody's working out behind the scenes. Everybody stayed in shape in the offseason. There's a lot of work that goes on to be a football player in the month of August, but you're ramping up to September. So I wouldn't say struggling, but I talked about it today with a few people, is who's going to play in the preseason and who shouldn't play in the preseason. And I think this is a really great topic. I'm a believer that Kirk Cousins should play a lot in the preseason because of his age. He's an older quarterback. He's near the end of his career. He's not on the front end of his career. He's not in the middle of his career. He's on the back end of his career. And he's not someone you have to protect. You can put him out there to get him in a rhythm before the Miami game. The Miami game is critical for the Raiders to have a home opener and start the season off 1-0. Sitting Kirk Cousins 2 of the first 3 preseason games, and I'm not saying they are. They might play them all 3. We don't know. That's what we're discussing. I think the more Cousins plays with Tyler Linderbaum and the more that he plays with these young receivers who are trying to build chemistry with them, that's going to be really important. So traditionally, if you have Jaden Daniels, you got Drake May, go around the league, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert. These are really valuable quarterbacks that are very important to the team. Kirk Cousins is very important to the team, but we know the future of this team is Fernando Mendoza. So I'm not worried about Cousins playing in a preseason game because he might get nicked up. The coaches might be because they don't want to put Fernando Mendoza possibly in early in the season. And as soon as Kirk Cousins, if he gets banged up, if he gets chipped, if he goes to the ground hard, is it Aiden O'Connell or Fernando Mendoza? I would hope it would be Fernando Mendoza. But a lot of Raider fans don't want to see Fernando Mendoza till week 8, 9. I mean, we've been talking about this for months. And if he has to come in earlier than that, then it's going to be a learning curve that's going to be very steep because of the difficulty of the schedule. So back to my point, I would hope that Cousins plays a lot in the preseason here because I think he needs to get reps in with this brand new team. Aiden O'Connell's been here for a while. Aiden O'Connell's been here a while, even though this is a brand new offense under Klint Kubiak. Aiden's been here. We know what he can do. We don't know what Kirk Cousins can do. Last year, Kirk Cousins did not play well other than a couple of flash moments. People are forgetting that about Cousins. Cousins last year in a quarterback battle in Atlanta wasn't playing a lot at one point because he wasn't playing well. So I went back and looked at his season last year. And because Cousins has had some monster years. Oh, my God. Let me get to it. Last year in Atlanta, 2025, he played 10 games. 10 games total. He had a completion percentage of 61.7%, 1,721 yards, 10 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He had a rating of 84.8. His career rating is 96.8. He had 3 years in a row in Minnesota. Follow me here with the Kubiak years, 107.4, 105, 103.1. In the Minnesota years from 2020 through 22. So I'm picking those 3 seasons. Listen to this. 2020 is not that long ago. 35 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Then 2021, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Wow. And then his 29 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. That's what Cousins is. I'm looking at Cousins' career touchdowns. He came in with Washington. He didn't play a lot. In 2012, he played 3 games. 2013, 5. 2014, he played 6 games. And then in 2015, he played 16, 16, and 16. 3 years in a row. 2015, 16, and 17. He played 16 games. He threw for 4,166 yards, 4,917 yards in 2016. 10 years ago, he pretty much threw for 5,000 yards, then 4,093. Kirk Cousins in his career has had 6 seasons of over 4,000 yards. His greatest season, 2016, 4,917. His best year in Minnesota, he threw for 4,547 yards. This guy puts up 4,000 yards when he starts and you leave him alone for pretty much the majority of his career. Even in Atlanta in 2024, he threw for 3,500 yards, 3,508 yards, 18 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. His biggest interception year was 2 years ago in 2024. So what do you want to do with Cousins? I want to see him play in the preseason. I'd like to see him play at least 2 games, one of the games where he plays into the second half because he's the quarterback. He's got to get reps. He's got to get comfortable in the system, which we know he knows inside and out. The Klint Kubiak offensive coordinator, Minnesota Viking years, Cousins was at his best. And in order to ramp him up for the Miami game, then the Charger game and the New Orleans game, he cannot do that like he did today, practicing at 8 in the morning in Vegas. There's only so much you can get done. He's got to be in games, playing football games in the preseason, attacking downfield. Look, we're not going to show the whole playbook. There's not going to be double reverses and, great plays. We don't want to show everything, but we got to see what Cousins looks like. And then after he plays the first 3 or 4 games, he'll be evaluated to stay, keep the job, or go to the bench because Fernando Mendoza is going to be ready to go. I don't know when Fernando's going to be ready to go, but most quarterbacks taken number 1 overall start week 1. This is a rare instance. This is rare. You take a guy number 1 overall, you pay him that much guaranteed money, you play him. That's not going to happen here. Kirk Cousins, from what I've seen in camp at these practices, has been great. Completely healthy. I don't know what he can do outside the pocket. You don't see a lot of that in drills. You don't see a lot of it when they're in team settings and they're going up against the defense. You don't see him getting flushed out. Aiden O'Connell, the other day, right in front of me, I was in the corner end zone. He got flushed out and ran it in for a touchdown. It wouldn't have been a touchdown in a real game because someone would have came up and cracked him before he got out of bounds at the pylon. But Cousins is not very mobile at this stage. What Cousins can do in this offense, which I think is going to be really what we hope for, is to get the ball out really quick. Hike, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, balls out. To Brock Bowers, Jalen Naylor, there's going to be a lot of slants. There's going to be a lot of crossing routes. There's going to be players in motion. We're going to see things that we should have saw under Chip Kelly and Josh McDaniels. Another conversation I'll just keep with us that I had on the sideline the other day. Josh McDaniels and Chip Kelly, those two combined, drew up some of the most influential play calling of the modern era of the NFL. You cannot debate that. You don't have to like Chip Kelly or Josh McDaniels, but Josh McDaniels drew up the playbook of Tom Brady. It wasn't Belichick. Belichick wasn't in the meeting. It was McDaniels. He gave the playbook to Brady. Brady executed it. What did he do so well, Tom Brady? He read the defense at the line of scrimmage and went with his highest percentage. He changed the play at the line of scrimmage. He went with the high percentage play. A lot of people thought it was checkdowns. Brady had to make a big play. He could make a big play. Brady threw a great deep ball. But what Brady's advantage was coming to the line of scrimmage on time, reading the defense, quickly deciphering the defense and saying, I'm going to Edelman, Wes Welker, Gronk, Randy Moss, because they're in single coverage. The safety isn't on that side of the field. And Brady became the GOAT, the greatest football player of all time, Tom Brady. Chip Kelly, with the spread offense at Oregon, took Oregon to a level where the rest of football, college and pro, said, who is that? Look at that playbook. Look at how fast they're running plays and what they're doing. And both Josh McDaniels and Chip Kelly did not work in Las Vegas. Stunning to me. Absolutely stunning that as 2 elite play callers, they couldn't call plays that were efficient enough to keep their jobs in Las Vegas. Now we have Klint Kubiak, different guy. Watched a lot of Seahawk games like you did. Saw the ball come out quickly. Ball came out. It didn't matter if it was Geno Smith, Sam Darnold. They figured out the line of scrimmage, and Kirk Cousins is really good at that. For those who are asking why Kirk Cousins has an advantage over Fernando Mendoza, for me it's very simple. His ability to get to the line of scrimmage with veteran leadership and put the Raiders in the right play. Klint Kubiak's going to call that play. It's going to come into the huddle. Cousins is majority going to run those plays and not have to change them up. But if he does have to change him at the line of scrimmage, he's a lot better than Fernando Mendoza. A lot better. Because Mendoza's never played in an NFL game. And I just showed you or said to you how many 4,000-yard seasons Kirk Cousins has had. 7 of over 4,000. Kirk Cousins' career passing yards, 44,700, right on the nose. 298 touchdowns, 131 interceptions, and a lifetime quarterback rating of 96.8. He had 5 seasons of over 100 quarterback rating. Got to play him. Got to play him in the preseason. Got to hope that he can get a rhythm in the preseason so he hits the Miami game in our home opener, and he's on fire. He's going to have 10 days off before that. They're going to shut it down, and Cousins is going to go compete against Malik Willis, and Cousins has to be great. And after that game, if Cousins throws for 270 yards, 2 touchdowns, Ashton Genty runs for a touchdown, they just got to get the win. And then Cousins will be off to the races. But wow, I can't wait to see what happens Tuesday night at Allegiant Stadium. Please get your tickets. The Raiders are doing a big push on this. Everybody's hearing about it. You're seeing the television commercials. We're running spots here on the radio. We want to get as many fans as we can at Allegiant Stadium for that open workout. If you've been out to Henderson and you've been able to go to practice, I hope you're having a good time. The food trucks, they're feeding people water. Everything's been fantastic as the Raiders are navigating the heat and hoping more and more fans are enjoying the experience. But a lot of fans can't go. A lot of fans aren't season ticket holders. A lot of fans can't get out to Henderson. Everybody can get to Allegiant Stadium. So try to go if you can. Bring kids in the neighborhood. Show up. If you want to, tailgate, go across the street to Whiskey's, have one, come on inside, and then afterwards hang out with your friends. It's the first chance we're going to see at Allegiant Stadium this Raiders team, with Tyler Linderbaum at center, Kirk Cousins at quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, Brock Bowers, Traden is going to be there. Is he going to be with the 1s or 2s? Stooks will find out. Zeke Masses, another pick today. Can't wait. So that's Tuesday night. When we come back, we'll thank our proud partners here. This was our first kickoff of our business model. All of our business partners who start with us for football August 1st, and they stay through the Super Bowl. We got some new ones and a lot of people to thank as we continue on. JT and Clay here on a Friday on the flagship. This is Raider Nation Radio.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by the DeCasta Verde Law Group. If you get injured in an accident, call 702-222-9999.
Thanks for coming back here on the flagship of the Silver and Black, Raider Nation Radio. Q Myers coming up with his big show in a little bit. Keep it here. Big week next week as we get you ready for the Arizona Cardinals and the Allegiant Stadium practice on Tuesday, the game on Thursday. A lot happening. It's going to be a busy week. Going to see a lot of people who are coming into town. Season ticket holders are going to be back in Allegiant Stadium for the first time in a while. Want to thank our partners as we kick off our football coverage. And we got a couple of new ones to thank, and everybody along the way, we greatly appreciate it. This is my core. This is what we do here. I'm very proud of the relationships and the partnerships we have here on Raider Nation Radio. So I want to thank the M Resort Spa and Casino. 2 towers are better than one. That's where Freddie Bolitnikoff stays. So if it's good enough for Freddie Bolitnikoff, it's good enough for all of us, the official headquarters of the Las Vegas Raiders, proud partner. What a fantastic job they do. Modelo, the fighting spirit of Modelo, the official cerveza of the Raiders and Allegiant Stadium. We really appreciate our entire team there. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, One Love. I didn't know this until my wife told me in chat GBT, the first company to sign a Raider sponsorship in Las Vegas before the stadium even existed. Remy Martin, Team Up for Excellence, our entire team, including Mount Gay Rum. If you're going to get a rum and Coke, ask for Mount Gay Rum. It's light, it's clear. We think you'll love it. Woodson Bourbon Whiskey, as Charles, I'm assuming, I should know this, but I don't know. I'm assuming Charles is going to be back in Canton, Ohio at the Hall of Fame with the great Eric Allen. Woodson Bourbon Whiskey, proud partner of our show, the official bourbon whiskey of the Las Vegas Raiders. Click Hospitality. They have Bel Air Lounge, 8 Cigar Lounge. We're going to be doing a lot at 8 this year. We have a lot of events coming up at 8 Cigar Lounge. We appreciate them. I was at Click last night in the Cosmopolitan. That's their lobby bar. If you walk into the Cosmo through the front on the right is Click, a great lounge to meet up with friends. Also, let's thank the local laborers, 872. Tommy White has teamed up with us again. And that membership group, 3,500 daily construction workers working in Las Vegas. The DeCasta Verde Law Group, Alex in Orlando, DeCasta Verde. Their dad built an amazing legacy of helping people, and that's what they do. Brothers Win, brotherswin.com. Grimaldi's Pizzeria, proud partner of the show. The best pizza I've ever had. Coal-fired brick oven pizza. That tradition began in Brooklyn over 103 years ago. 4 locations here. M-Ride, the way to get to and from Allegiant Stadium. If you're looking to get in and out, you don't want to deal with the hassle, do it the right way. Go to mride.com. Fletcher Azul Tequila. Wow. Smooth, man. Buddies last night, we went to Zuma at Cosmo, and 2 of my buddies specifically asked for Fletcher Azul Tequila, a little tequila on the rocks, and also Aspen Vodka, proud partner of the Raiders and the New York Yankees. Thanks to Mike at Finley Volvo Cars of Las Vegas, family owned since 1961, right off the 215. You can't miss it. 215 in Rainbow, right across from UFC. You'll see it right there. Steiner's, a Nevada-style pub. Roger will be in next week. Our newest partner is Steiner's. We want to thank them. The Black Hole, they're getting ready for their huge opening kickoff party at the Palms. Warren G and Too Short will be performing. You have to be there for that. That will be the Raider Party of the Year. Michael E. Minden, my personal jeweler, Fashion Show Mall, 2nd floor. You'll see Michael there. Diamonds, gold, whatever you need. If you're looking for an upgrade, you want to get your wife a nicer ring, you want to get her a nice gift, you want to get your partner anything new, try Michael E. Minden, proud partner of the show. And Flowing Tide Pub, locally family-owned in Nevada, 13 locations statewide. They are a monster up in Reno, and they are great. It's about sports viewing, giant screens, pool tables, video gaming at every location. How about that? The proud partners of Raider Nation Radio as we continue on here. So Q's coming up. We will see you back here on Monday. I got a 4-hour Sunday show on Mad Dog Sports Radio. We saw the Hall of Fame game last night. I got to tell you, exciting for a Hall of Fame game. I've been on the sidelines for a Hall of Fame game. They're not very good. Last night we saw some scoring, and hopefully we see some more scoring here in the preseason. Thanks, everybody. Thanks to Clay Baker. Thanks to our guests. Thanks for an unbelievable week. It was a busy week, back and forth to practice, coming in here with all of our guests, and we're 1 week closer. We still got a couple of weeks, but we're counting down to the kickoff of the Raider season on Raider Nation Radio, 920 a.m.